for stopping by the channel. My name's Leah, and let's recap Real Housewives of Orange County, season 16. I think this is episode 11 or 13, but then again, I don't know. But let's get into this, because they was tripping. Okay, so the episode opens up and everybody is packing to get ready to go to Aspen. We see Noella with her mom. Then we see Shannon with John. Side note, I like John and Shannon together. John seems like a very sensible and understanding guy. And I feel like he really makes Shannon feel good about herself. And I think you can genuinely tell he really cares about her. And that's why I liked her. Because at times when she was with David, it was like you could see he cared, but it was only to a certain extent. He really didn't like care, if that makes sense. So I like that. They talk about Gina. And I was happy that he said, you know what, just be cordial. And at this point, that's all you can do with Miss Gina. Miss Walmart Greeter Gina. Because she getting on my nerves. So the ladies get to Aspen. The house is lovely. Like, it's a beautiful house. Mind you, I'm not really for like camping trips. I've been on like two where we went to the woods and stuff like that. But like after a while, it's only but so much nature I want to see. So it wouldn't have been my cup of tea. But the house is beautiful. It had a bowling alley. Had a really nice water feature that at first I thought was a pool. But then they were like, no, that's a water feature. I said, okay. Glad someone said something. And the house, I guess, had staff there too, because there was a lady touring the women around and showing them their rooms. Now there's two master suites. Noella brings up the fact that her dad died recently and that she should have a master suite, and that annoys the crap out of Heather, where she was like, okay, my dad is dead too, do I get a master suite? And I was just kind of like, I got where Heather was coming from, because even I was like, Noella, that's not... There was a different way you could say that. I don't know. I guess it's always weird to me when they fight over rooms, because I'm of the belief that like the hostess should get the best room. Like the hostess should always get the masters, and then everybody else should just pick their rooms. It's not like any of the rooms were bad, in all honesty, but so they're going around. I find it really weird that Gina and Emily are always sleeping in a room together. Like, it's weird. And it's very, like, it's not even kiddie-ish, because I've been on vacations with friends, and the only person that I normally share a bed with, if it's like, you know, a hotel room and there's two beds and we have like more than two people in the room, is my sister. Anybody else, we're normally like sleeping in separate beds, or I got my own room. So it's odd to me that these grown women want to sleep in the same bed together or need each other that much, when I guess it might just be me, because shoot, I want my own bed. I want to be able to lay out like this. I don't want to have to worry about like me kicking you, or if I decide to lay a crooked kind of way to go to sleep, that like I'm impeding in your zone. So no, I ain't doing all that. I don't get it. I don't. So I don't, y'all. I really don't. It bothers me. So then it was this discrepancy about the room, which was weird to me, where I thought Noella picked the master suite. The lady, or the hostess, or the one that runs the house, she was telling them there were two master suites that were the same. And I kind of was like in and out in this part, where Noella ends up taking Heather's room. And I guess it was because of where the placement of the room was, where I guess it was more like carted off. Because Noella was like, you know, like I start the party, but I normally don't go to bed late compared to y'all. And then Heather ended up like in the basement, like on the bottom floor, where I guess Noella was up where the kitchen was or something. I don't know. Heather felt some type of way, because she was like, so I'm going to be the one in the basement. My thing is like, if you wanted that room, you should have fought for the room. So I didn't get why Heather had such an attitude, when I'm like, if you didn't want to give her the room, then you shouldn't have gave her the room. I'd have been like, no, sis, take it downstairs. Take it down to the basement. I'm up here. You got here last. My room. But she was in her feelings. We then see everyone get vitamin shots. They're all doing the thing. That has never appealed to me. I only want an IV unless it's gonna help me with a hangover, or if I'm in the hospital for dehydration. Other than that, I will take my vitamins through pills. I don't want needles in me that I don't need. So Jen finally shows up. While they're doing the IV, she made some slick comment about how she was like, who do I write as my emergency contact? She was like, oh, I'm gonna write CC. And they were like, well, why not write Ryan? And she was like, you know, and I guess they're still not on the good terms. So everybody just found it awkward. Like, Jen does that a lot, where she'll make like self-deprecating comments about her relationship or about herself. And it's always cringe to me. Like, girl, if your relationship's in the toilet, it's in the toilet. There's no need for you to like make a cheeky comment about it. Like, because they're normally not funny. So everyone's getting ready because they're about to go to dinner. I don't know what the hell Emily had on because it was ugly. It was straight up ugly. It looked like some like musical cowgirl outfit where it had poofy sweaters, and then she had a pleated skirt on, and it just was ugly. It was ugly, and I was just annoyed by it because I'm like, where are you going with that? Like whoever designed this, where was the person who bought this going? Because it didn't make sense why she wore it, because everybody else's outfit were like okay because they were just going to dinner, but it was just ugly to me. The outfit was ugly. I ain't like it. I just didn't. So we're going to dinner. Before they get to dinner, Heather got an attitude already. And so while they're at dinner, they start playing this game about, like, I guess, you tell an embarrassing time you had, like, in your teens or whatever, like in high school. Shannon brought up about her dad getting her this gaudy car, and she was embarrassed. What's her name? Gina, Miss Walmart Greta, brought up about how she tried to like go to the back seat of a four-door car where she thought, you know, normally in the back, like because they were going to pick up a friend, where you close, you know how you push the seat or you pop it up so someone can get to the back, and the guy was like, no, it's four-door. So she looked bad, she looked stupid. Then Jen talks about how she'd been proposed to 7 times, and then they asked her in the confessional, like, well, why did you pick Ryan? And she was like, stop asking me hard questions. And I'm like, that's not a hard question. Why did you pick him? If you have been proposed to 7 times, why have you picked this person who now you really can't like articulate why you chose them out of all those other people? So I was like, yeah, y'all relationship is doomed. Because if I was with a man and they asked him, why'd you pick me? And you can't say nothing, trash. No bueno. No. So then Emily starts asking more. They start asking messy questions. Like the next question was like, what did you think about when you first saw this person? So then they brought up, what's it called? They brought up Shannon and Heather, and how, you know, when they first met back in like 2013, 14, they, you know, Heather really liked her. She thought Shannon was, you know, that girl. And then they were like, what do you think now? And she's like, I can't stand her, but she was joking, which I don't think she was joking. And then they laughed. I don't know how they got onto this other topic. Oh, they keep bringing up about Shannon calling them when they were like, when when Gina and Heather were in New York. And here's my thing, because this whole dinner scene was a mess from hell. And I got so many notes, but I'm going to try to condense them, and we're going to get straight to the point. Basically, Heather has an issue with Shannon calling because she felt like she thought Shannon was calling her to congratulate her on her podcast, you know, having her live podcast. Shannon's whole thing is like, girl, I don't know your schedule, nor do I care to know your schedule. I was just calling to see what y'all was doing. Emily is interjecting, and Emily was like, no, it was a competition. And I was finally happy that Shannon called Emily on her ish and was like, you be misconstruing things. Because then Gina chimes in, but it came off that way. And Shannon was like, that's not what I meant. Like, I was just calling because there was a lull in our in the party, and then we were just seeing what y'all was doing. It was never a competition. Emily's like, but it felt that way. And here's my thing, Emily, if it felt that way, you put that on yourself. you put that, if you don't get verbatim from Shannon that, oh, like she made it a competition, why is that your, like, here's my thing with Emily, and I think I said it in one of my videos. I think Emily is more pressed about Heather and Gina being friends than Shannon, than they let on to be like that Shannon is. Because it doesn't make sense that they're trying to paint Shannon in this light that like she's this jealous and hater about a person, when it's like we don't have evidence, nor have Shannon given off that energy that she's hating or she can't stand Gina or Heather's relationship. It's giving very much so like y'all want an issue where there is no issue. There is no issue. So I have to give credit to Noella, because Noella starts chiming in trying to defend Shannon, because now it's 3 against 1. You got Heather on Shannon talking about it feels that way. It feels like I'm just mad you didn't want to congratulate me. Gina's like, it does feel like a competition. Emily's like, it does feel like a competition. So then Shannon starts to cry because Shannon is like overwhelmed. Mind you, I felt like these tears were fake, especially when she was like, I don't have a nanny. I'm like, you don't need a nanny. Your kids are like damn near 23. You got one in college who's like 21, 22, and then you got 2 twins who are like 17, about to be 18. You don't need a nanny. So I was like, Shannon, you just crying just to cry. But I understood her frustrations. I also think Shannon was slick drunk or a little tipsy, because she did kind of slur her words a little bit. But Shannon was basically like, I'm overwhelmed. I'm trying to be a single mother. Also, I'm trying to be good at my businesses and in my relationship. I don't have time for you, Heather, basically. So then Heather was like, you win, Shannon. And that annoyed me, because I'm like, Heather, what does she have to win for? She's telling you your feelings just like you want her to validate your feelings about feeling like you felt some type of way that she didn't call you in the guys to congratulate you about your podcast. Then validate Shannon and her feelings of being overwhelmed and not knowing like that y'all had a podcast. So it's like they're both saying the same thing, but they're not making, like, no one's hearing somebody. Like, they're not hearing each other. So then Noella chimes in and she was like, you're kind of taking on too much. So then Gina's like, pipe down, Noella, like you just barking in where you don't need to. And I was with Noella, barking, bitch. What you got to say, Walmart? Fashions, what you talking about? What you talking about, Gina? And y'all know I don't even see it for Noella, but the head with a tilt. What you mean barking, lady? Cause clearly we know you Heather's lap dog. If you could, you would be Heather. You would be one of her children's that she would have to take care of the way you be on her nuts. So I was like, calm down. You better calm down. Calm down, Gina. Calm down, ma'am. So then they get on this thing about labels, and then this is where the conversation went left, and I had to give Heather a point for the way she clocked Noella, because they bring up the whole thing about Noella saying Heather, I guess, assaulted somebody, like shoving them up against the wall. Noella said, I heard, and everyone's like, but did you see it? If you didn't see it, then you can't be going around saying that it's fact if you didn't see it about something that's this serious. And Noella was like, no, I heard someone say like what happened. So what Noella has been saying and been like talking, and I do believe she compared notes with Emily, because Emily was so quick to get angry. And I was like, sis, you just don't want to be on the outs with Heather. But Noella was like, someone came downstairs. I asked what happened, and they said they saw Heather push somebody up against the wall. So Heather gets mad and was like, you can't say those things like that. And she gets angry and she leaves. And then Jen is like, yeah, Noella, like you can't say those things if you don't have proof. That's a serious accusation, which it is. But I felt like Heather was kind of like blowing it out of proportion. Like, yes, be mad at her. Yes, call her a liar if you feel like that is what she's doing. And technically that is what Noella is doing. Like, you're saying that you saw it, but then you backtrack and say you didn't saw it. And Noella's point, she was like, I'm not lying because someone told me this story, and I'm telling you verbatim of what I'm saying. So technically you're playing semantics. Like, you didn't visibly see Heather shove somebody up against the wall. Noella, but your story hasn't changed, that someone came to you and told you that information. Either way, you shouldn't repeat something serious like that when you know these people have businesses, and you know how like Heather is about controlling the narrative about her reputation. So you walked into that one. So then out of nowhere, Gina gets mad at Noella, talking about Noella don't be defending her. Where I'm like, you told her in Mexico you were done with her. So why would you think Noella would defend you, stupid? Gina get on my nerves. She don't need to come back. Gina just don't need to come back. She is so, like, she is such a low tier housewife. It's aggravating. So Heather's like, Emily, like, why, like, Noella and Emily get into it at the table, especially because Noella brings up, like, Emily, me and you compare notes, so back me up on this. And Emily don't want to say nothing. So Emily and Heather are outside the restaurant because Heather left the table. And Heather's like, girl, I'm leaving. I could call Terry. He will have a jet here for me. And I'm out. And I'm kind of like, girl, leave then. Leave. But Emily did say, like, have a point. If you leave, it looks like you're guilty. And it does. Because it's like, you so angry for nothing. Like, if you really believe she's lying, why does it matter? Like, why are you so in your feelings, Heather? So it's time to leave the restaurant. Everybody's leaving. Noella has this like, oh, I didn't do nothing. And that I can get with people, with the ladies saying that's annoying. Because Noella, you be kicking up dirt. And then when people get dirty, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know. And it's like, yeah, you did, sis. The ride back home. And things get even more cringy and awkward and a mess. And I would not want to be on that bus. So before everybody gets on the bus, Shannon is trying to talk to Noella and explain to Noella why Heather's upset, and also trying to give onus to Noella. Like, I understand, like, I get what you're saying, but you're still wrong. And they're just trying to have a moment. Shannon, but then the other four ladies are in the car upset at Shannon for taking Noella's side. And then Gina's like, I'm mad at Shannon. And I'm like, she was like, we've been friends for 4 years and she gonna take her side. And I'm looking at Gina like, you want loyalty from two women that you have told are bad friends and bad people that you don't want anything to do with. That is insanity to me. Why would you expect people that you clearly were like, you told Shannon she don't have no friends. You've been talking cash money trash about this lady being jealous about your friendship with Heather. You've been saying that you feel bad for her, but you want her to defend you to Noella because Noella got at you at the table. Then you said to Noella you didn't really like you were done with Noella in Mexico, and you're mad at Noella for not defending you against Shannon. And I'm just like, Gina wants too much from people that don't like, that she don't deserve nothing from. Like, if I was Shannon or Noella, it'd be blockity block. I wouldn't even talk to Gina. I wouldn't, because it's like, you've done things to them. And granted, out of the Noella and Gina thing, Noella has been short with Gina. But with Shannon and Gina, no. Gina is trash when it comes to that Shannon and Gina relationship. Because you've been the main one being aggressive and trying to push a narrative that lady don't see it for you and she a hater. So, bye. So they're on the bus. They're still arguing. Like, you got... in the front seat, you have Noella, Jen, and Heather. And in the back seat, you got Emily, Gina, and Shannon. So there's two arguments simultaneously going on at the same time. You got Shannon arguing with Emily and... yeah, you have Shannon arguing with Emily and Gina about how they brought up messy rumors about her man John, trying to compare it to what Noella says. And then they show a flashback of them arguing at the reunion about it. Then you have Emily, like, you have Shannon talking about Emily always kicking up the dirt, and then her going off on them, talking about why y'all laughing about just such an awkward situation and getting like emotional. And that's why I could tell Shannon was slightly drunk or obviously tipsy, because she cried. And I was like, this is not a crying situation. Then you got Noella and Emily arguing because Noella gets on the bus and she's like, I'm sorry for making it awkward. And I had to give Emily a point when Emily was like, Noella, shut up, because you always do this stuff and then say, I'm sorry. And she does. She starts stuff and then she says sorry when they kind of go too far. So then Noella and Heather are arguing while Jen is sitting in the middle. Heather tells Noella to shut up, and Noella's like, "Excuse me," but I'm like, Noella, shush. Either be quiet or come back at her, cause the whole like, are you for real? That's annoying. That's annoying to me. That energy is annoying to me. So then they get to the house. Jen, Shannon, and Heather have a outside like conversation by like the fire pit or out on like the balcony. And Heather's whole thing is like she's mad that the ladies aren't defending her enough against Noella. And I'm like, Heather, you're a grown woman. Defend yourself. You already told her you don't like her. You already said she's annoying. Why do you need everyone to back you? And then the reference that Heather came up with, like, if Noella said Shannon is a racist pig that steals from stuff, and I'm just like, that's not the same thing. And also, Heather, you've been coming hard at Shannon too. So it's like Heather and Gina want Shannon to like be their ally and be their friend, but yet y'all don't defend Shannon. That doesn't make sense to me. Like, y'all can't expect this lady to be loyal to y'all when y'all aren't loyal to her. It's weird. It's just weird. So then we have a moment, and this is where the episode ends, where Noella and Heather are going to have a talk, because Shannon prompts Noella to have a conversation with Heather, and it's basically like, you need to talk to her. Don't say the whole lying thing. Just have a conversation. And at the moment, Heather's like, I don't really want to talk, because Noella asks Heather, and she's like, I don't really want to talk to you. And Noella's like, well, I don't know how things got off on the wrong foot. And Heather's like, you don't know. And so she's like, you know what, let's have this conversation. She was like, F it, let's just have this conversation. And then it ends to be continued. Ugh. I mean, they bring in the drama, but we almost at the end. And I was like, I just feel like, honestly, it's a mess. It's a mess. You got Shannon versus Gina, which I'm on Shannon's side, because Gina is just, at this point. With Noella and Heather, it's mixed, because I feel like Heather came into this franchise thinking she was going to be the HBIC, because she's Heather Dubrow. And mind you, y'all, I was excited to have her back, and I'm still happy she came back. I mean, is she doing what I thought she was going to do? No. But for the most part, it's been working a little bit. But we need Noella versus Heather, because Heather's groupies would make this show draining. Because if you really think about it, Heather has Emily, Gina, and Jen against her. Well, with her on her little team. And it's like Shannon doesn't have anybody, because Gina and Emily jumped ship. So it's like she needs Noella. So yeah. But that's it. That's all, y'all. Remember to be bravely authentic, and I'm out. Deuces.